another question for you, Bob. The question is, our slow season for sales has started. How can I keep our salespeople busy?
Chemicals. Massive amounts of chemicals. So your slow season has started, but you have to look at, and I always tell my salespeople, so we're moving into a slower time of year for most of you. Again, if you're in ag and things like this, we all know that November, December tend to be a busier time of year because farmers now have money and they're trying to figure out how to avoid taxes. And they're going to do it through the dealership and buy things. So again, so it depends a little bit upon the industry, but I would tell salespeople again that, there's always, every day you're always doing some sort of prospecting activity. And it doesn't change as the season changes. What you're going to do is set yourself up and say, okay, I know next year, this is the amount of business that I need to generate. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk about it next week in my sales workshop, but this is the amount of that I need to generate. And I've got to be generating that every day. This is a great opportunity if it's slowing down a little bit to do follow-up on customers that maybe haven't bought in the last 3 or 4 years, right? Mm-hmm. And you just kind of go back out and prime the pump again. So there's never a time that a salesperson should be slow.
Yeah.
Okay. Because in season, you're busy selling. And as the season slows, you're busy prospecting and getting everything set up and everything ready for the new season. The other thing we want to keep in mind as we look at customers, you have 2 types of customers. So you have your commercial customers, you have your consumers. Over on this side, you actually have 3 types. Then you have your governmental ones. So you got your schools, your park and rec departments, your cities, states, counties, and things like this. And their budget, right, ends typically in about it'll be ending in about June of 2024. And so this is the time of year when it's slower on these others, where these other organizations, like I say, your public organizations and things like this, they're looking at getting bids and things put together, right, so that they can get them budgeted for then the 2024 season. So it's a perfect opportunity. If I were a sales guy and I was selling, let's say, construction equipment, I'd be calling on the cities, municipalities, and things like this, saying, hey, what are you looking at needing in 2024? Because they're going to be ending their 2023 budget in the mid part of 2024, starting their new budget. So what are you looking for there? What kind of quotes can I give you? What kind of information can I give you? And I would start really priming that pump, right? So that they're building me into those bids and those quotes, because we all understand that these guys can write those things. So it really just kind of matches your equipment in most cases. And the other piece is they probably have dollars that they haven't spent yet in 2023 going into 2024. And as you're meeting with them, you're starting to build those relationships with them. There may be a time in April or whatever and say, hey, I've got $40,000 that I need to spend by this time, by the end of May, before June. I have to have it delivered by then, because that's in most cases that is. What can you get for me? And I mean, I have seen a ton of sales happen to governmental agencies because the salesperson primed the pump back here when it was slow. They were doing their activities there, and then they get the call from whoever it happens to be, and they say, hey, I got $40,000 or $50,000 I need to burn off, because heaven forsakes the government would ever come in under budget on anything. They're going to burn it to somebody. They're going to spend it some way. And if you're doing this now, you're really positioning yourself in a good spot to get one of those calls and have kind of one of those icings on the cake moments. So again, it's maybe slow, but there's never a reason that a salesperson should be slowing down. If I'm not selling, I am prospecting. If I'm not selling, I'm building relationships. That's what sales is all about. So maybe slow from a sales standpoint. It is never slow from a prospecting or an activity standpoint.
Well, and depending too on when your season starts, because again, every single industry is going to be something a little bit different. About a month and a half to 2 months before, we need to make sure our salespeople are diving into sales training and focusing on their skills. And I know you've started working on some sales training master classes and things, but that's the time, about a month and a half to 2 months before, we need to make sure that the salespeople are engaged and working on improving their sales skills.